What is going on, guys? So this video is going to be some extreme value, and I really hope that it blesses you guys. But what this video is it is a step-by-step guide, a 4-step process through what I call the niche ecosystem model. Okay, this is the model that you use to start and scale your Amazon FBA businesses from the ground up. So after this video, by the end of it, you're going to know exactly what you need to do, have an exact step-by-step roadmap for yourself to take action on your business and start your Amazon FBA success journey. So with no further ado, let's jump right into it, guys, and get into the good stuff. All right, so this is the niche ecosystem model. And what I want you guys to understand that this is a type of private label. However, it's not what a lot of people think private label is, or not what a lot of people do when they're trying to start a private label business. So what the difference is in this than some other types of private label businesses is that there's different methods of doing, I'm going to say it again, private label. And one of the methods is what I call the shotgun method. And that is where you buy a bunch of products all at once. We'll say like 5 different products, and then you launch them all, right? It requires a bigger budget, by the way. You launch them all and you find out which one was doing well, and then you just keep the one that was doing well. And what happens is like they're not related at all. None of these products are going to be related to each other in the same niche. They could be a pair of shoes and then like a shovel and so on. So the difference here is that you're not building a brand around a niche. You're not really building a brand at all. A lot of times when people do this, they use a generic brand. They're not utilizing their own brand. It's just a generic brand. They don't have brand registry or any of these methods that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Another way of doing private label is where they start with one product, right? They launch it. They do a lot of analysis to make sure that it's going to be successful, which I'm also going to show you how to do. But it goes good, they're making money, and then they launch their second product, okay, product number 2, and what happens is it's not related at all, right? It's also going to be making some money on the side, but they're not related, okay? They might have one brand for their first product, one brand for their second product, and these are 2 separate brands, 2 different names, 2 different intellectual properties for this seller, and they're not utilizing the same customer base. So the customer base for product 1 is not going to be the same customer base for product 2. Okay, they're going to be 2 different customer bases, which means they got to pay for ads, they got to pay for things for both customer bases. Now, with the niche ecosystem model, what we're doing is we're building a brand around one niche, one market, and adding products, building out an ecosystem. Okay, what is an ecosystem? Well, it's a bunch of organisms that work together to build out a system, to build out an ecosystem, right? And that's what I'm trying to teach you guys how to do. I'm teaching you how to build an ecosystem of products, an ecosystem of a brand in a niche ecosystem. That's what I'm teaching you guys. Now, how do you do that? Well, first of all, when you launch your first product, you do a great analysis. I'm going to show you all the different criteria here in a little bit. But after you do the great analysis, it's selling really well, you're making a lot of profit. When you go to launch your next product, product number 2 is going to be a product that is in the same niche, utilizing the same customer base, all right? You don't have to reinvest into a brand new audience. You're utilizing the same audience, the same customers, and you're building brand loyalty. But you're not just building brand loyalty, you're also getting return customers. They buy one product, and your next product is related to it, so guess what? They're going to move over and buy the next product too, more than likely. And if they don't, they're going to talk about your brand because they're loyal to your brand. And if they talk about your brand, that's something called word of mouth advertising, which is free advertising. It's free. So the way to build this is by utilizing the niche ecosystem model. And I always say this is the only method that you can use to build a scalable and sustainable business for the long term that you own, right? This business model will be an asset for you. This is something that you can sell in the future, right? If you want to exit your business, you can sell it because you've built a brand with a loyal audience, a loyal customer base. It's a name brand. That's what you're trying to build here. So now that we got that out of the way, what the niche ecosystem model is, now I'm going to show you step by step exactly how to implement it from zero all the way until you have, multiple products selling millions and millions of dollars. I'm going to show you each step through the process. This is going to be a very advanced video. So if you haven't already, go ahead and watch the basic overview of what Amazon FBA really is. If you're watching this right now and you don't even know what FBA is, it stands for Fulfilled by Amazon, by the way. But if you don't know the process or what the idea of FBA is, then please go ahead and watch that and then come back and watch this video because this is a very advanced tutorial step by step through exactly what you need to do. Exactly what you need to do, guys. So awesome. I already kind of hit on this, but what is it? It's a four-step process. This is four steps. All right. Now, there's going to be a lot of further information and details and stuff in those individual steps, but overall, it's a four-step process. And what this is going to do is this is going to get you to, we'll say, $25,000 in profit a month. You can do way more than that, obviously. Okay, you can do a lot more than $25,000 in profit a month, but initially, that's a really good milestone and goal to go for is that 25K. The four steps, which you can see here, are product selection, product sourcing, brand formation, product launch, and product launch actually has three separate parts. There's product launch ordering, prepping, and boosting. And I'm going to go through all of those with you guys. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory, the ideas behind them. In product selection, you're selecting products. In sourcing, you're sourcing products. Brand formation, you're building out your IP, your brand, your company. And then the product launch is where you actually send it to Amazon. You start, getting your organic sales. You start building out your customer base that we talked about. Now, before we get into those individual modules, those individual steps, what I want you guys to understand is you need to have the right mindset. All right, this is the first. This should honestly be step one is mindset. You got to get into the right mindset, and there's kind of three ideas behind doing this. And for one, you need to understand discipline. All right, and discipline is going to get you time optimization. Let me explain it for you. There's a difference in motivation and discipline. Motivation is where you feel like an urge or a desire to do something. Maybe something came along and you're super excited and you want to go and do it. So then you actually get up out of your bed and you go do it because you felt the desire. You felt motivated to do it. Discipline, however, is kind of the opposite. It's when even when you don't want to do something, even when you're just begging to stay in the bed, stay under your covers, you don't want to get up and go to work, you don't want to get up and go take care of your responsibilities. You do it anyways because you're disciplining yourself, right? You have self-discipline. You can tell yourself that you need to do something and that you will do something, and you'll actually do it whether you want to or not. Now, the reason this is so important is because discipline brings motivation. Motivation doesn't bring discipline. If you only do things when you're motivated to do it, then guess what? You're not going to get discipline from that. You're not going to be successful because there's going to be long periods of time where you don't feel motivated at all. Starting a business is hard, okay? And there's going to be seasons where you don't feel motivated to do the tedious work that you need to do at all. But if you are disciplined, you're going to do it anyways. And when you're doing it and you're seeing results and you're seeing progress, the motivation will come and it's just going to make acting on discipline a lot easier. Discipline brings motivation. A big point here is that you need to set goals and milestones for business growth, and that will lead straight to the next one, which is creating your daily schedule to meet those goals. Now, how do you create a daily schedule for optimizing your time? Well, what I like to say is when you are working, for example, a 9 to 5 job, you get off of work at 5, okay? Well, guess what? You have from 6 p.m. till like 8:30 p.m. for focused business time. Maybe after that you want family time or something, but you have focused business time, okay? That means putting your phone away, turning off your social media, sitting down and just focusing on the business for those 2 or 3 hours every single day. And when you set that time schedule for yourself, you have to stick to it. You have to stay disciplined to that time schedule. And now what's going to happen is you have the potential and the opportunity to meet those milestones and goals that you set in place before you started. This is very important, guys. Without doing this, you're not going to be able to be successful at all. You're not going to be able to. Because if you don't have these in place, then you're going to be lackluster and slow and lazy. That's just the honest facts. Next is mindset cultivation. Cultivating the right mindset for growth. Because when you're starting a business, there are going to be challenges. There will be challenges. Whether if you go into this thinking that there's not going to be any challenges, that as long as you do everything right, then there's not going to be any setbacks, you're very wrong, and you're going to be in for a rude awakening. The trick behind it, the trick to being successful, is to take those challenges as a learning experience, to take the setbacks as a way to take two steps forward. Okay? Now, the way that you do this all depends on your mindset. Now, when I say mindset, I'm talking about what you tell yourself, the words you speak to yourself, or what you convince yourself of. Now, there's a quote, and I forget who quoted this, so I apologize in advance, but the quote goes like, whether you believe you can or can't, you are right. Whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. So if you believe that you cannot start an Amazon FBA business, you believe you cannot become wealthy, you don't have it in you, you don't have what it takes, then when you hit those challenges, when you hit those setbacks, that's going to overtake you. It's going to prove you right, and then you won't overcome them. You won't take those two steps forward. You won't be resilient. Now, if you tell yourself on the opposite side, if you're telling yourself and you've convinced yourself that you will, no matter what it takes, become successful, you will become wealthy, you will have a successful FBA business, for example, then when you hit those setbacks, you've already convinced yourself, you already know deep down that you will be successful, and you already know it's just a setback and that you're going to be taking two steps forward. You already know that. So then what happens is it builds resiliency in the subconscious part of your mind. You have a resilient subconsciousness that's going to overcome challenges. So you have to have, every time you feel doubt, you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, who am I? I'm just a nobody. You have to cut that out. You have to catch it in the action and say, no, I can do it as long as I convince myself that I can. You have to understand that when you tell yourself you can, it means you're right. You absolutely can, as long as you stick to that and you stay disciplined. Next is an eagerness to learn, okay? You need to have an eagerness. Let me move this out of the way for you. You need to have that eagerness to learn, okay? What does that mean? It means be open-minded. As soon as you think that you know everything, as soon as if you join this program, or if you join, Amazon FBA thinking that you know everything, you've watched a bunch of videos on YouTube, or if you try to start any business with the thought that you already know everything, then you will not be successful, because everything in this world changes and adapts. Okay? If you're not adapting and constantly trying to learn and have a humbleness to yourself, then you're not going to succeed. You have to have this humbleness. Pride comes before the fall is not just some cheesy saying. It is the truth. If you're very prideful and you don't take, knowledge from people, you don't take knowledge from other people's experiences, then you're going to fail. You're going to run into the same experiences they ran into, and it's going to overtake you because you thought you knew it all. When I say that you need to tell yourself that you can do it, it doesn't mean that you feel like you can do it where you're at now. It means that you will do it no matter where it takes you. Okay? A bigger section to this as well is to actually listen to what your coach or mentor is telling you. Right? Take notes and don't let it go in one ear and out the other. You need to actually pay attention, actively listen when you're working with a mentor or coach, which, by the way, is the first step into starting any business, is to get a coach or mentor who's actually done it before, so that they can walk you through the process of the whole thing. They're going to be giving you action steps. They're going to be helping you out, teaching you things you didn't know, because, like I said, you don't know everything. Even me, I'm a FBA coach and mentor, I still do not know everything, and I'm still actively learning. And I feel like as soon as I have the idea that I know it all, that I am a professional, but as soon as I think that I am the professional, that nobody knows more than me and I know everything, then the second I have a setback that I don't know how to take care of, I don't know how to fix, then my whole world comes crashing down. That's why they say pride comes before the fall. So actively listen to what mentors are telling you, and then, like I said, be open-minded. Realize that you don't know everything, and actively listen, actively learn. Now, the next thing is, we're going to get right into it, is product selection. That's step one to the niche ecosystem model. This is where you begin to implement the niche ecosystem model at the very first level. Now, let's get into the two sections, right? You have to find products, get a bunch of different ideas, and then you have to qualify those products with a checklist, with criteria, to give you that confidence so that you know it will be successful as long as you implement. right? With Amazon FBA, you can really reduce risk. It's not as risky as a lot of people think. Selling on Amazon is not risky if you do the analysis beforehand, if you qualify products properly beforehand. Now let's get into it. How do you find products? So there are tools and softwares that scrape data off Amazon, like like the sales volume, the review counts, all of these different data that Amazon gives based, on their different listings and products. And there's tools that scrape that data off Amazon and present it to you in a nice, formally fashion. Well, the best one, and the one that I use the most, is Helium 10. And that's why it is a requirement. Helium 10 is the best data scraping tool on Amazon, period. There is no tool as good as Helium 10, and I'm just going to say that right now. I've been offered affiliates from AMZ Scout and other ones too, and they're not as good as Helium 10. Helium 10 not only has the most accurate data, but it has the most tools available to you. Helium 10 alone is enough to do everything. Okay, I'm talking about listing building, keyword optimization, product research, like what we're in right now. It has all of it. Okay, Helium 10, like I said, is mandatory. Now, AMZ Scout is useful for its own reasons. There's different tools, like I said. There's also Jungle Scout and a bunch of others, but these are the two that if you're looking to get like the best ones, these two are the best. Helium 10 and AMZ Scout. AMZ Scout is optional and useful. There are a couple tools that do a better job than some of the related tools in Helium 10, but overall Helium 10 is the go-to. Now, there's different methods for searching for products. For example, Helium 10 has a tool called Black Box. And inside of Blackbox, for example, you have two different methods or searching methods for finding products. There is product searching, and then there's keyword searching. And I'm going to break down the difference for you right now. So with product searching, how the tool works is you're going to be putting in a bunch of different criteria like sales volume, like review count, the category, the size, the shipping tier, all that kind of stuff. These are the criteria. So after you hit enter on those criteria, Helium 10 is going to output a bunch of results of products that meet that criteria. So the output, when you put in the criteria on this tool, is going to be product listings, individual listings that meet the criteria you specified above. And the issue with this, and it's not necessarily an issue, I use both methods. You should use both methods. But the issue with the product searching method is that you're finding only one product that meets that criteria. But maybe the competitor products don't meet the criteria that you're searching for. For example, if you want to find a smaller market because you have a lower budget, and you go and you try to find a product with, small sales, low amount of reviews, then you go and you look at the competitor products for that specific product, and they have thousands and thousands of reviews. They sell, 10,000 units a month. You see what I'm saying? The individual product searching doesn't tell you anything about the actual market as a whole. That's the issue with product searching. Now, it's still useful. It still gives you ideas, but it's not as good as keyword searching, which I'll break down right now for you. Because keyword searching is where the output of your criteria is going to be a line of keywords, different kinds of keywords. And a keyword is, for example, if I was selling a cat water bowl, then the phrase cat water bowl would be my keyword phrase. All right. So when you put in the criteria on the keyword searching mechanism, it's going to output a bunch of keywords where when these keywords are searched on Amazon, it's going to give you the criteria you're putting in there is an average of the results, right? So if you were to search cat water bowl, all of the results, all of the listings are going to be matching your criteria. I say all of them, I mean an average of the results are going to be matching the criteria that you put on the top of the tool. So that's why that's a lot better, because when you find a keyword that matches the criteria, there's a much higher chance that the competitor products in that market, in that niche, also meet the criteria as well. So I always prefer keyword searching, but then, like I said, use both so you increase your opportunities and you increase your chance of finding a solid product. That is how to find products. Now let's talk about how to qualify products. Product qualifying is very in-depth, but one of the first things I want you to understand is that your budget directly relates to the market and products that you're looking for. This 5 checklist criteria here is unique for you. If you're investing $10,000, then you're going to look for a different sales volume and a different profitability and conversion gap than somebody, for example, who has investing $150,000. Okay, your budget directly relates to the markets you're looking for because of cash flow. Cash flow is very important. If you don't have the proper cash flow to handle a market that's selling 1,000 units a month, then you need to look for a market that's selling maybe 300 units a month, 200 units a month, right? Because you don't want to start off in a market where if you start boosting your listings, that you're selling more than your cash flow can handle. And you end up having to invest more money, and money maybe that you don't even have. So that's the first rule of product qualifying, is that all of these qualifiers are going to be unique based on your individual budget. Now, let me break down what they are. So you have sales volume, and that is, as it sounds, the sales of the market. So what you're going to do when you're qualifying units is you're going to do like a market search, a market analysis. There's a tool on Helium 10 called X-Ray, and this is going to display, after you search a keyword, it's going to display for you. So you go on Amazon and search the keyword. It's going to display a little box of all the results that showed on that keyword. And if you can sort by sales and whatnot, and it's pretty much what you're going to do is find the top 5 sellers of that market, of that niche that they're trying to sell on, of that product, the top 5 sellers. And what you're going to do is look at their sales volume. How many sales are they doing a month? Because that tool in Helium 10 tells you monthly sales. How many sales are they doing a month? If they're selling thousands and thousands of products every single month, then maybe you don't have the budget for that. Or maybe you do have the budget for that. It's something that you need to pay attention to. And also, you want to make sure that they're not, underselling. They're not selling too little. You want to make sure that you're making profit, that you're making money to begin with. So it's just you're trying to find that right middle ground for your budget. The next one is profitability. And what you're going to do here is you're going to get an estimated cost of goods from Alibaba. And this is like a really brief estimate right now. Well, you do a later accurate profit margin after you develop your product with a supplier. But this is, you just want to get like a rough estimate of your profitability. The way you do that is from an estimate of the cost of goods based on Alibaba. So if I was looking for that cat water bowl, I would go to Alibaba, look for a similar model, if not the same model of cat water bowl I wanted to sell, and then I would get their quote based on their website link, based on their web page. I don't need to talk with them at this stage. I just need to get a rough estimate. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Amazon's revenue calculator. I'll link it here for you. And in the revenue calculator, I'm going to put one of the top competitor ASINs. And ASIN, if you don't know already, is what every single product on Amazon has. So if you're looking at one specific product, that specific listing has its own ASIN. And Helium 10 will give you the ASIN for you. So you copy the ASIN, you paste it into the revenue calculator, and that's going to grab the price of the unit, the sales price, and like the FBA fees based on the shipping size, all that kind of stuff. And all you have to do is input the cost of goods with an estimated shipping cost, right? I estimate like $1 to $2. Maybe if it's like a really heavy item, like a small oversized, maybe like 2 to 3. But generally, just estimate like $1 to $3 for shipping. And what you're going to do is add that into the cost of goods section and get the profit margin. What we're looking for here on the revenue calculator is a 35 to like 45% profit margin. 35 to 45. The reason for this is this is your gross profit margin. On the revenue calculator, it says net profit margin, but that's not accurate. It's your gross profit margin because you're not including any advertisement costs or any expenses or any launch costs. None of that stuff, right? And your advertisement costs can be upwards of like 20% when you're launched, 20% of your profit margin. So if you have a 45% profit margin on the revenue calculator, after your advertisements and stuff, you're looking at like a 25% take-home profit margin, which is actually good. This is a good take-home profit margin at the end of the day. Now, the issue with finding products that only have 30% or 20% even profit margin is then after your advertisement costs during the launch, you're at a 0% take-home profit margin. And if you're at a 0% take-home profit margin, that means you don't have cash flow to scale your business, right? So whenever you go to restock your inventory, maybe you're selling even more, you need to invest more in inventory, you don't have any profit to do that with. No profit to do that with. So you actually end up going negative on cash flow if your business is growing. It's like it makes it so that if your business is growing, it's a bad thing. You don't want to run into that. So on the revenue calculator, 35 to 45% is a good number. Now the next one is the conversion gap, also known as barriers of entry. This is where we actually go and do competitor analysis. This is where we actually analyze those competitors, those top 5 competitors we're talking about, to make sure that there's a gap, a conversion gap in the market that you can squeeze into, converting their sales into your sales. That's why I call it a conversion gap. A gap in the market where you're converting their sales to yours. It's also referred to as barriers of entry because if, for example, this top one, review count gap, if the top competitors have a lot of reviews, that's a large barrier of entry. It's a barrier for you to entry. If the barrier is small, then you can easily hop over that barrier and join the market. So it's also considered barriers of entry. Now, what is the review count gap? So once again, we're looking at those top 5 sellers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they all have their own review count numbers here. So they say this one had 200 reviews, this one had 1,000 reviews, this one had 50 reviews, and this one had 100 reviews. All right. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to find a market where there's not a lot of review competition. Okay, if there is a ton of reviews on the top 5 sellers, they all have over 2,000 reviews, then what that means is that it's going to be really tough for you to join the market with 0 reviews because you're not competing on review count. You're not going to be able to. If somebody pulls up both listings, they're always going to go with the one with more reviews. The only way to compete on that is to invest a lot more into advertisement. So if you have, once again, a very large budget to work with, then you can invest a lot more into ads and actually compete with the review count because you're investing into ads. People are going straight to your listing. Does that make sense? That's why I'm saying everything relates to your budget. If you have a lower budget, then you need to find a product and market where the top sellers do not have a ton of reviews because you don't have as much money or as much cash flow to invest into your advertisement. I hope I'm making sense here. The next one is listing quality gap. This is exactly how it sounds. How good are the listings of the top 5 sellers? That means you're going to open up each one of those sellers. Don't just do 5. If you can do 10, do 10. But the top 5 are the most important because that's where you want to be at. You want to become one of the top 5 sellers. But you want to open up all of their listings and look through things like the images, the image quality. Do they have all of their images? You get like 6 images in a video. Do they have all of that on there? Do they have videos at all? Do they have any videos? Do they have all of their bullet points? That's another one. Do they have optimized title or is it just like a bunch of keywords smashed together? Do they have branded content? That's a big one. So if you scroll down on a listing on Amazon, you can see like a bunch of like nice images and brand logos and descriptions. All that's called A+ content or branded content on Amazon. And if they have that, that's really good. But if they don't, that is kind of a little bit of a conversion gap because you're going to have branded content and you're going to be converting people better than they are. So you're just going to be looking at their listings and trying to see, is there a gap there that you can squeeze into? Can you make a better listing than them? Another one is the product quality gap. It can also be thought of as the rating gap. This is similar to the review count gap. What is the rating of those reviews? So if all of the top 5 sellers have 5-star reviews, like no bad reviews, they all have 5-star reviews, then you can safely say there's not a product quality gap. Does that make sense? However, if they do have like 4 stars or 3.7 stars, then what that means is that there are people who are complaining about something with that product. People are complaining. There's some issue with it. Maybe it doesn't work the way they want it to work. Maybe the quality of the product is not that great. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through those reviews and figure out what people are complaining about. What are they saying needs to be fixed? What are they saying are issues with the product? Because that's going to help you move to the next item, which is your USP, your unique selling proposition. What a USP is it is a way to differentiate yourself from the competition, a unique proposition for your product to help you sell your product more than the competition. So for example, you found a product quality gap in a certain product, and what you're going to do is you're going to take that when you're developing your own product and fix it. You're going to fix that issue. And now that you fix that issue, you're going to advertise that on your listing, in your images, on your advertisements, in your product description, and the bullet points. You're going to be advertising and showing why your product is better, and the other competition is doing this, well, I fixed it, I'm the best. The other seller is doing this, well, I fixed that, my product is the best, buy my product instead. You are comparing yourself to other sellers to advertise that you are better, that you created your own unique selling proposition. Now, the reason that this is so good is, like I already said, you're better than you're going to be converting people from other brands to yours to buy your product instead. But also, there's this thing, if you don't have a USP, right, everybody's selling the exact same product. The only differentiating factor you have is price. And what happens is you get stuck in a price war with the competitors. You get stuck in that price war. Everybody wants to lower their price, lower and lower, so that they get more sales, because everybody's gonna be buying the cheapest one because they're all the same. And the issue with this is that you will never be able to win a price war with Chinese sellers. There are a lot of Chinese sellers on Amazon. The only way to beat them at their own game is to develop a USP so that you have a reason behind your pricing. You have a foundation to stand on. Yeah, I'm priced higher because I fix all these issues. My product is better. I have these USPs. And what it is it keeps you from getting stuck in the price war. You have reasoning behind your pricing, and yeah, you have a premium product. And what this criteria is it's a USP potential. I should have wrote that here. USP potential. Is there a potential for a USP? Can you come up with one right now in your head? If not, like I said, the best way to do it is to go through those bad ratings, go through the product quality gap, and find out if you can develop a USP. Now, this is mandatory. You have to have a USP, because if you don't, like I said, you're going to get stuck in a price war and your business is not going to be sustainable. Now, the last criteria here, last but not least, this is very, very important. This is where we start implementing the niche ecosystem model. Now, when I say brandability, I'm not talking about brand design, like logos and stuff. I'm not talking about that. I am, however, talking about the niche brandability. For example, the brandability of that market. Can you add related products to to your first product, to that market, that the same customer base will buy, or that the same customer base will be interested in? Now, the way that you find this out is by going through the FBT section. Every single listing has an FBT section on Amazon, and that stands for frequently bought together. So if you go to your competitor listings and look at their frequently bought together section, then you'll see related products that customers are buying alongside of the competitors' products. And a lot of times these frequently bought together items are going to be related. So you can look at those. Another way of doing it is actually going to your competitor sellers' storefronts and looking at their other products. What other products are they selling? A lot of times, if they're doing it the right way, they're going to have related products in their store. And that's going to give you an idea of whether or not you can add related products. Because then you're going to look at those products too and check to see if those are good products to sell later on yourself. You want to make sure that you have at least like 5. I would say for this, you want to have at least 5 related products that you feel like you can sell in the future to add on or to sell with your product. That's very important. That's how we start implementing that niche ecosystem model. You got to make sure that the niche is brandable. Now, what you want to do here in this next section, the done with you product analysis, is if you have a coach or mentor, which, like I said, is step one. You really need somebody who's done this before to walk you through the process. What you need to do here is the done with you product analysis. This is what I provide to all my students. So after I teach them how to find and qualify products, I have one-on-one sessions where we sit down with the products that they're looking into, and we do an analysis. We go through all of those criteria. We look at the market trends, market history, and actually analyze the product together. So if you have a coach or mentor, like I said, which you honestly need, then this is a mandatory step. After you found a products that meet those criteria, after you sit down and run them through that checklist and check all of those different criteria and they pass, you should have at least like 5 products that pass those criteria. Then you need to sit down and do product analysis on all of them, on each one of them, and compare them to each other to make your final decision. At the end of product selection, you should have your final product selected. But just in case you have 4 others, or 6 others that also are just as good or almost as good, in case this one doesn't work out, or after you try to develop it, maybe there's no profit margin and so on. So next one is product sourcing, and like I said, at this point you should already have your product selected and you're ready to figure out how to source it. Now, this works very similar to product selection. However, instead of finding and qualifying products, you're going to be finding and qualifying suppliers. Something I want to mention is that people are afraid to source things from China. They think that's going to cause issues for their business. But I want to let you know it's absolutely not going to cause any issues for your business. Most people know that your products are sourced from China. It's just like a standard knowledge in America. 90% of the products you're going to find that pass the criteria that you want to sell can only be sourced from China, right? There's not a lot of suppliers or manufacturers in the US. There's just not. China is the big manufacturing country. It really is. If you want to supply something, more than likely, I would say 90% of the time, maybe even 95% of the time, it's going to be sourced from China. Okay, so don't let that scare you. You need to understand that. Now, how do you find and qualify suppliers? Well, if you go to Alibaba, Alibaba.com, that's where you're going to find, the best quality suppliers. If there's a quality Chinese supplier, they're going to be on Alibaba. That's the place that you should be going. There are other platforms and stuff, and like I said, I recommend Alibaba all the way. Now, there's different qualifiers when you are, just like there is qualifiers for products, there are different qualifiers for suppliers. Now, one of the big ones is, are they a manufacturer? Are they a trading company? And I'm going to break down the difference between these for you guys right now. A manufacturer is a supplier who actually makes the products in their warehouse. They're the ones actually making the products, storing the units, and then sending them to you. Now, a trading company is like the middleman. So if you have the manufacturer, then you have the trading company, and then you have yourself right here. The trading company is going to be charging you a higher price and then giving the supplier the lower price. Does that make sense? They're the middleman. They're taking the extra income, right? They are giving your money to the supplier and then taking the money in between. So they're going to be charging you more money. Trading companies are kind of like scammers, in my opinion. The only reason that you should go with a trading company is if you found like some off the wall manufacturer in China. They're not on Alibaba. Maybe they're on 1688.com or something, and they don't even speak English, but they have really good prices. You can work with a trading company to be that middleman because they speak the language. They speak Chinese. They can communicate with that supplier. They can work with them, and they might charge you a little bit more, but you know it's a quality supplier. You know that the price is just the same as if you're working with a direct manufacturer on Alibaba, and so on. So that's really the only way, and it's very rare, but that's the only way that you would be using a trading company, in my opinion. You should always be going for manufacturer, and when you're on Alibaba, you should be able to see whether it's a manufacturer or a trading company. Now, the next thing you want to look at is the company history. Okay, company history is very, very important. Also shown on Alibaba, you can see how many years they've been selling on Alibaba. And the reason that this is such an important detail is you don't want to be a test subject for a manufacturer. A brand new manufacturer joins and they just started creating and supplying these products. They're going to have issues. They're not going to know everything about that product. They're not going to know how to handle certain situations or how to ship maybe to the US and all these different things. You don't want to be the test subject. You don't want to be that. You want to work with somebody who has been doing this for a long time. They understand the process. They understand the products that they're manufacturing very well. They've fixed hundreds or thousands of issues and developed further and further and further to make the best products, the best quality products. They probably have really quality and premium QA companies that work with them to QA their products. And that's really the biggest difference. You don't want to be a test subject. You want to work with somebody who's been doing it for a long time. And this is your business. You need to take it very seriously. Don't work with new companies. I like to say like 6 to 10 years or more is best. 6 to 10 years or more. Now certifications. Now this could mean a couple different things. On Alibaba, you can have certifications for the suppliers showing that they QA their products well. They manufacturing procedures and standards are really well. Now there's also another side of this that if you are selling a product that requires certain certifications, you have to make sure that the supplier is going to be able to provide that to you, right? You need to make sure that they are willing to provide that to you. If they're not, it's a little bit shady, right? If you are required to have certain certifications for a type of product, and the supplier says that you're on your own for that, they just make the product, that's kind of a red flag. It depends on the product, obviously, but you want your supplier to provide any required certifications that your product might need or require to be sold in America. The next criteria is, are they verified? Now, Alibaba has this program called Verified Supplier, where suppliers can sign up for this program. I think they pay monthly or whatever, and Alibaba actually goes out and verifies that they are actual real manufacturers. They go out to their warehouses and actually check it. And the reason this is so important is because there are a lot of scammers on Alibaba, and what this means, it kind of gives you that extra layer of protection, just knowing that, okay, Alibaba has actually verified them as an actual warehouse manufacturer and so on. And that's really important. Sometimes even trading companies will display the word manufacturer on their listing, but they won't be verified, right? If you have a verified tag, they're going to show whether you're a trading company or a manufacturer. So these two kind of go hand in hand together. These are very important, these two together. Now the next two criteria right here, these, if everything else passes, these are like really, really important. You guys really need to understand why these are so important. Now, it might seem self-explanatory, right? Do they respond fast? Are they fluent in English? But let me break down why this is so important. If they don't have a fast response rate, if your supplier just takes forever to get back with you, and you are running out of inventory, you need a restock, and they take 2 weeks to respond to you, that's going to destroy your business, and it's going to destroy your cash flow. Because you're selling out of inventory, you need to order more, and it's just going to destroy your whole business. And if you run out of inventory, that's going to hurt your seller rank. And if your seller rank is hurt, you're not going to get organically shown on search results as much, and your whole business is going to decline. So it's very important that when you're communicating and negotiating with suppliers, that they respond very fast, right? They need to be very, very quick with their responses, as you know, at least 24 hours, at least 24 hours. Now, fluency in English is also very, very important. If the supplier types really good English, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are fluent in English. It might mean they're using Google Translate, which is not good. You don't want there to be miscommunications when you're developing your product or when you're trying to order your product and so on in the contracts with your supplier. You don't want there to be any miscommunication. Now, one of the ways to verify this is if you're kind of later in the stage and you're pretty serious about working with a certain supplier, you like the way that they negotiate, you like the way they talk, they seem very fluent. What I would do with my personal business with talking with my suppliers, and what I currently do is I actually ask them to jump on a call, like a WhatsApp call or something with them and their boss, and I get both of them on a call, and I talk to them, and I see how their spoken English is. If their spoken English is like 80-90% fluent, then that to me is a really, it's a green flag. That's a really good thing, because it's all that's going to do is kind of ensure that there's not going to be a bunch of miscommunications in your product development, which is really, really important, guys. Now, the next one is negotiations with suppliers. I'm sure you guys know why this is so important, right? You got to make sure you're getting a good deal, you have a good profit margin and so on. But what I want you to understand, it's not just this. This is also just basic communication. If you want to be able to even be able to negotiate, you have to first give the right persona to the supplier. And what do I mean by that? They need to feel or think that you, if you're not, are a massive, massive company with a huge team of people all operating in their own departments. And that what I like to say is I'm in the innovations department reaching out to them, and we're looking at starting a new product line. That's what that might look like. But if they believe that you are a massive company and they're gonna think, that you are reaching out to them from like some small department in that company, what that means is they're gonna feel like they can build a very long-term relationship with you. And they also are gonna think that you are an expert in this field. So they're going to trust you more with products and with maybe lower prices, because they know that you're going to have a long-term relationship, because you're going to be selling the products. You're actually going to be selling the products that you buy from them. So if they have the persona that you're a large company, you're much more likely to be able to negotiate to begin with. Now, in actual negotiation, there's some rules you got to follow, right? There's some things you do negotiate on and some things you don't negotiate on. If you are negotiating on the sample cost, for example, when you're ordering samples and you're negotiating on the sample cost, that's going to make you look like a cheap person, cheap company, maybe a company or person that doesn't have any money, so they're trying to fight on the sample cost. A large company wouldn't do that. That's not given the right persona. Now, what you would negotiate on is the per unit cost of goods. This is the overall cost of goods for your product per unit. The reason that you want to negotiate on this is because this is going to be the long-term investment, right? An actual large company would negotiate on the cost of goods. And what you're going to do to get some ground to stand on for your negotiation is you're going to look at websites like 1688.com is one where it's only for Chinese sellers. You have to translate the page. But if you can find similar suppliers on that page, most of the time the prices are going to be significantly lower, and you can use that as a base for negotiation with your supplier on Alibaba. You can also go to other websites or talk to other suppliers on Alibaba to get quotes from them to stand have some ground to stand on in your negotiations, saying, "Hey, you're quoting me this, but this person over here is quoting me, $3 cheaper." That's what you want to do. You want to have some ground to stand on, but if you don't give the persona that you are a large company, the negotiation is just going to be a failure for you. You're not going to be able to negotiate at all. They're gonna be really. I guarantee you, the Chinese suppliers are better negotiators than you. The only advantage you might have is if they think that you are a large company and that they can trust they're going to have a large and long relationship with you. So the next stage here is the order samples. Now we're going to talk about here in a second in product development, but when I would say, why do you want to order samples? Well, for one, you want to check the quality of the supplier. You want to check the quality of them. Make sure that they're actually producing the products that they're advertising, and they're actually producing them at a good quality. Now, when and how do you order samples? Well, how is pretty easy. You just do it on Alibaba. You tell the supplier, like I said, you don't negotiate with them. You ask them, how much for a sample. They're going to charge you for the sample and then shipping. And it could be upwards from like $100 or so, depending on the cost of the unit. And when you would do this is when you have filtered out your supplier list of different suppliers to the best ones based on those criteria we talked about before. So when you have your list of like the best suppliers that you're thinking about going with, what you're going to do is order samples from each of them. Maybe different models of the product you're going with, but you want to order these samples at that stage. Now, what do you do with the samples? Well, you're going to be doing your product development, which I'll go into here in a second. Product development is where you test and qualify the samples. Okay? You test and qualify them. You break them down. But you want to be recording everything. So for example, if you were selling a blender, you want to make sure that it actually blends well. You want to be using the product, putting different maybe foods or fruits or whatever into that blender and testing it out to make sure it works as much as possible and recording each one of these tests. And then you want to be breaking the product. What breaks the product, right? Okay, if the max spill line is here on the blender, what happens if I add, water or liquid above that line? And then see what happens when it spills. Does it destroy the product? You want to break the product. You want to figure out what the issues are with the product as much as possible, and you don't want to be attached to it. You want to be very critical of these samples so that you know what to improve and fix in your final product. Which goes to the next thing, which is USP development. The whole point here is to develop that USP. You have the USP potential that you all of these USP potential ideas you had in product selection. Now you need to actually implement those and figure out if it's plausible, if you can actually add these USPs. And you're going to be talking and working with a supplier during this phase here to develop your product and also to filter out the bad quality suppliers. If you get that bad sample, you filter them out by whether or not they have a quality sample or not. They should be sending you their best quality samples. If they're not, then don't expect them to make quality bulk orders. Self-explanatory, guys. Now, after this, you have your accurate profit margin calculation. This is super important because all we have so far is an estimated profit margin. But now you have the product with the supplier and you have the developed finalized product. You've kind of worked on your USP. So after you add the USPs and the developed product, you need to get another quote from the supplier. Okay, if I add this feature and this size with these factors, how much does it cost for 1,000 units, for 500 units? That's going to give you your accurate cost of goods quote. And you're going to use that once again in Amazon's revenue calculator to get an accurate profit margin calculation, USP included, right? Your final developed product. Now, if for some reason maybe the profit margin isn't looking as good anymore, you've added a bunch of stuff, you developed kind of an expensive product, then maybe for one, you might consider increasing the sale price. Maybe you need to sell it at a higher price and you have a reason to do so. Now, you also might want to negotiate with the suppliers further, saying, okay, well, I'm going to be working with you for a long time. This is my portfolio. You know that I'm a professional company, I'm a large company. You know what I can do. You know I'm an expert. Can you give us a lower price? What are the chances you can give us a lower price on this, on this? You added this much for this much, but you added this much, cost of goods for this extra feature. But this other supplier over here said that it'll only cost an extra $1 for this feature. You want to negotiate on these to actually lower that price further, further and further, and more negotiation. This whole process is negotiation and development, okay? This whole process. At this stage, guys, you are not going to be ordering any inventory. Not yet. That's going to be the very beginning of the product launch. First, you need to do a lot of other things like building out your brand and other things as well. Now, this is just product, like I said, this is just negotiation and product development. Now, there's this thing called a new mold, okay? This is something where if you try to develop a product so much that the supplier needs to create a whole new mold, a whole new interior electrical design, or maybe the shape itself is a plastic mold, they need to develop a whole new mold for that. What's going to happen is they're going to require a mold fee, like a mold deposit for that new model, for that new product. And that can be very expensive. So, for example, if there's a product that a lot of people are complaining about, there's a huge USP potential there, but to develop that USP, you need to spend $20,000 on a new mold cost with a supplier. There's a chance if you can't afford that that you need to scrap that product and move to a new one. Okay, there's a chance for that. Go back to the drawing board and go to your next product. Now, if a mold fee is required and you really want to use this product, you think either one you can afford it, or two, you think that this is still a profitable product, you still want to go with this product, what you can do is you can try to negotiate with them to lower the mold cost. And you can also try to offer them things like, instead of paying upfront the mold cost, how about you add the mold cost to you add money to the mold cost, so the mold cost is more expensive, but you actually divvy that up into the cost of goods per unit cost. So the per unit cost will go up rather than paying it all at once. And if you still have a good profit margin with that, then that's a method you can go as well. However, if you can prevent it, don't open up a new mold if you can prevent it. Try to develop the product without having to open up a new mold. It's gonna save you some unneeded expenses. Now, step three, guys, we're really moving here. We already have our product, and more than likely, you already have your wanted supplier, your selected, finalized supplier. Now you need to develop your brand and develop your IP. So step one is to work with a CPA, right? And the reason I say connect with a local CPA is because each state in America, at least each state in the US, has their own regulations, has their own, rules and stuff and practices for businesses. So a CPA who works in your state, in your local area, is going to know the regulations and rules for your state when you open up your business. They're going to help you out with the whole process. I'm not a legal consultant, but CPA will help you out through everything. They're going to give you the advice you need, the steps. They might even open the business for you. They should open the business for you. And that's when you're going to open up your company. Now, when you open up the company, you're actually going to have to name the company. But I want you to know something. This is not important. When you name the company, it's not important. There's a difference in your brand name and your company name. Okay, the company name, like I said, it's not important because the brand name is what's going to be going on the products. The brand name is what you're going to be trademarking. Is what you're going to be trademarketing. And yeah, so there's a big difference there. Like when I say it's not important, it doesn't mean make an inappropriate name, or don't name the company your name LLC or anything like that. Don't do anything like that. You want to maintain privacy to some extent, but the name isn't important. If you can have like some generic name, it should be perfectly fine, because after that you're gonna open up a bank account, and then we'll get later into it in the IP generation about the brand name as well. But the reason you need to open up a bank account at this stage is because right after you finish that, you're going to be opening up your Seller Central account. This is the stage that you open up your Seller Central account. Opening a Seller Central account before this stage doesn't make much sense. It doesn't, because you don't need it yet. You're not listing any products on Amazon at this moment. You're going to be paying that $45 a month for no reason, honestly. So at this stage, once you have your company created, you have the documentation from your company, you have the bank account for your company, you're ready to go ahead and open up your Seller Central account, and it's sellercentral.amazon.com, and you just click sign up, and you're going to input your business documentation information, like your EIN and so on. your entity type, all that kind of stuff. And then you're also going to need your business bank details. So at this stage, you can open up your Seller Central account as a professional seller account and input all that business documentation and move to the next step, which is creating your IP, creating your intellectual property. Now, when you're doing this, when I talk about IP, I'm mostly talking about the brand name. All right, you can, trademark your logos and stuff as well, but the brand name is what's really important. So when you generate your brand name, you want it to be something similar. It doesn't have to be niche specific, but you want it to be something that goes with the niche. Okay, something that looks nice on products that would be sold in that niche. You don't want it to be completely unrelated. Okay, so for example, if I'm selling like vegan products, I don't want my brand name to be something like bacon something, right? You don't want it to be against your brand name. This is why you should not create a brand until you have your products and you have the niche that you're trying to go into. So at this point, you can create your brand name, create the brand design like the logos, the font, the color palette, etc. And how you would do this, there's a lot of different methods. You can either do it yourself on Canva, which is a great website by the way. Or you can, get people on Fiverr to do it for you. Get like professional designers on Fiverr or Upwork. And a website that I love to use is 99designs.com. They offer, a really good deal where you pay like $100 or something, and then you have all of these different designers that go to your listing or your project, and they design a bunch of different ideas for you. And you go through, and you can run polls for the best ones, and you select the best one from there. And they provide you with sheets and color palettes and brand documentations and all that kind of stuff. It's really nice. After you have your brand name, your brand design, all that kind of stuff, you are going to start working on your trademark. Move this out of the way. So when I talk about trademark, that's going to be your IP, your intellectual property. Now, you can go do it on your own without using the Amazon IP Accelerator, but if you do that, you're not going to be able to apply for brand registry for like another, it could be like a year or longer even sometimes. The reason for that is to apply for brand registry, which I'll get into what that is in a second, but to apply for brand registry, you have to have an approved trademark. And if you apply for a trademark, it's going to be pending for a long time. It's going to sit there pending for a decent amount of time. So the way to, kind of accelerate the process of getting brand registered on Amazon is to use Amazon IP Accelerator. Now what this is it's certain firms that work directly with Amazon so that if you apply for the trademark with that firm, while the trademark is still processing, still pending, you can apply for brand registry. And let me tell you what brand registry is. It's getting your brand registered on Amazon so that you have access to things like brand protection and brand building. And I'll say what's inside of those here in a second. This is insanely valuable for selling on Amazon. You cannot be successful on Amazon without this. You can't. You have to be brand registered on Amazon to compete in the markets. Now, brand protection is part of brand registry, and that's where you get things like the counter crimes fit unit, where they stop like the bad actors on your listing and they hold them accountable. You have Project Zero for IP infringement claims. Keeping people off your listing, keeping people from infringing on your intellectual property. If somebody else was trying to sell your brand name, Project Zero would cut that in the bud. Now, brand building is, in my opinion, even more important. Brand building is insanely valuable. So this is where you get that branded content I was talking about. If you're not brand registered, you can't have A+ content on your listing. You also get Vine reviews. Okay, Vine reviews is an Amazon program where they have people organically review your products, and it helps you out in the very beginning. So when you have 0 reviews, Amazon's going to jump in there and give you those reviews. People are going to take your product, review it for you, and it's going to have a tag called Vine Voice. And people know that those are organic reviews. They're not scams, they're not fake reviews, they are organic from Amazon. And honestly, they're pretty generous with that. A lot of the Vine reviewers are very generous, and most of the time, if your product is decent, they're going to give you 5 stars. So that's a really good program that you only get with brand registry. The next thing is you get to upload multiple videos per product or per ASIN. Normally, you only get to upload one, but the more videos, the better. The videos, play a big part in converting people into sales. And the more videos you have on your listing, the better. And you can only get multiple per product, per listing, with brand registry. And the next one, which is branded ads, is where you get to, when you're doing PPC, for example, you get to have branded ads. So if you've ever searched something on Amazon and you have that huge like video that displays on the top with like the brand name and all that stuff, you have like on the side like the sponsored display. These are branded ads, and you only get access to that stuff if you are brand registered. And believe me, it's very important to invest into these kind of things because that's going to build your brand presence. If somebody sees that you have brand, advertisements all over the page and then they see your listing right here, they're much more likely to buy your product because honestly, you are all over those results. You are the leading or the dominating brand. So in order to get that brand presence, you need branded ads, and that's only possible with brand registry. There's a lot more benefits, guys, with brand registry, but these are the main ones that I feel like are the most important. And I just want to talk to you guys about why you need it. It's not hard to get. Like I said, you just need to do the IP Accelerator, and then you apply for brand registry while your trademark is still pending. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the big section, guys. Product launch is a massive section, right? Because and it's very important too. It's arguably one of the most important steps because if you can have the perfect product, the perfect supplier, the perfect brand name and logos and designs, but if you don't launch your product perfectly and with the right strategy, then all of that was for nothing. You're not going to be getting sales, you're not going to be making profit, and it's just pointless. You have to launch your product perfectly and strategically. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. There's 3 steps here. There's ordering inventory, prepping the launch, and then boosting the launch. Now let's jump into ordering. So with ordering, one of the first steps you want to do is create a test listing on Amazon. And what this does is like you already have your Seller Central account, you have everything built out, you have your brand as well, because when you create this listing, you want to create with your brand. And you're going to throw like a generic image into this listing, some generic, listing copy, like the title and bullet points and stuff. Just some generic stuff to get the listing launched. And you want to see if Amazon has any sort of restrictions when you try to create that listing. Anything, are they flagging your account for anything? The reason you want to do this is you want to make sure that before you place your order, there's nothing or no more hoops that you need to jump through before you start selling the product. This is a really important step. You want to make sure that you can sell the product before you place the order. After you do the test listing creation, you're going to start working on your packaging design and your 3D rendering. Now, obviously, this has to be done before you place the order because the supplier is going to be getting your packaging design and packaging your units for you. In order to do that, you have to have your packaging design done. This can be done on Fiverr, Upwork, etc. I found my company found our packaging designer on Fiverr, I believe, and honestly, it was good enough. It was great. Packaging design is very important, and you need to make sure it's premium and looks very nice and clean and minimal. The minimal packaging designs tend to be have a lot more brand loyalty from them, and kind of like it builds up that brand base a lot more. I prefer minimal packaging designs, but if you have something more, it's more, I don't know, busy, that could be fine as long as it looks nice. You need to have very nice product packaging because that's actually going to be included in your images, which I'll talk about later on. But when you're doing packaging design, you also want like a product images on there, right? And to do that, you should be 3D rendering your product. So most of the time, people who do the packaging design can also do a 3D rendering. If not, just get one of each, and then give the 3D rendering to the packaging designer for them to do. Now after that, you're going to be creating your back end funnels. Now, what is a back end funnel? Well, there's different kinds. What I personally use is something called the free gift funnel. And what this is that whenever the customer buys the product, they get the packaging, they're going to open up the package and they're going to see that one of the first things they get is they're going to see an insert card, a little index card in the package. This index card is going to lead them, if they have a little QR code or a link, is going to lead them to a funnel, to a website, to a landing page that that provides them a free gift if they verify their Amazon order number. Now, what you're doing here is you're building out that little customer base because now you're going to get their emails, you're going to get their information, and you're going to be giving them a free gift, whether it's $10, whether it's an additional unit, just for, just a thank you for being a customer. Now, you don't require anything from this. If you do require anything for this free gift, it actually violates Amazon's policy. This is just a free gift to the customers. But the reason that this is so important for your business is because after you give them that free gift, then you can go and ask them, hey, by the way, I would love to hear your honest feedback on Amazon about your experience or about your product. And then like 90% of the time, because you just gave them something free, some free value, they're going to go to Amazon and review and give you a 5-star review, like 99% of the time. This is a really good way to boost your review count. But the reason at this stage we need to build the funnels is because, like I said, you're going to have insert cards inside of your packages. And you need to design those insert cards where they lead to that funnel. And then you got to give those insert cards or send them via PDF or wherever to your supplier to add to the packages. Now, to do that, like I said, before you order inventory, you have to build the funnels beforehand. So at this stage, you're going to be building your backend funnels, the free gift funnel, and then also, designing your insert cards to send to the supplier. The next stage is to speak with an inspection company and start building out your requirements list of your product, the different requirements you have for your product. Now, a company I use is Mobley LLC. An inspection company, if you don't know what it is they actually inspect the order from the supplier. So if you order from the supplier and they manufacture the units, the inspection company will go out there and inspect the units to make sure that they're meeting the standards or the requirements that you set in place. This is very important because a lot of times suppliers will try to scam you by making maybe the first half of the order like a quality, up to your standard, and then the second half they kind of half-ass it to save themselves some money. And the way to catch them in the act of doing this is to have an inspection company go and inspect the units before they're shipped out. Mobley LLC is amazing. They do a bunch of video recordings and reports on your products and sample testing and all that kind of stuff. It's really really good. And if it whether it's Mobley or not, an inspection company itself is very important to the process. I'll put a link to Mobley LLC in the description of this video. But however, yeah, after you do that, you're going to be building out your requirements list with them for your product because the very next thing is the supplier contracts and agreements. And inside of the supplier contract that you're going to be signing with your supplier, you need to include sections in there specifying that if your order from them does not meet the requirements from the inspection, that you get a full refund, or you at least get a deducted price from your next purchase of inventory. This is very important, guys. It's very important to add this to the contract, and then ordering your inventory, right? But before that, you order inventory, you got to get UPC barcodes. Now, there's two different kinds of barcodes that you kind of are going to be working with. There's a UPC barcode, and then there is an FNSKU barcode or FNSKU label. Now, let me tell you what the difference is. If you don't know what a UPC barcode is, it stands for Universal Product Code. And every single product sold in the world has a UPC code. Every single one. The reason that you have to have this is because you're doing private label. You're developing your own product, your own brand, and to do that, you have to give it a UPC code, a UPC barcode. Now you can buy these off GS1 website. I'll link it here as well. It's super simple, guys. You just gotta buy the barcodes and send it to the supplier. Now an FNSKU label is Amazon's version of the UPC barcode because sometimes there's multiple sellers that are selling the same product which has the same UPC barcode, and the way that Amazon has that distinction between which seller is selling which one, each seller has their own FNSKU labels on their products. So there's UPC barcodes and then there's FNSKU labels, and I'll talk about the FNSKU labels and when to generate them on Amazon later on. But at this stage, you need to just do the UPC barcodes and then order the inventory. All right, so the next part is prepping the launch. So let me close this section real quick. Prepping the launch is what you're doing in the in-between time. So you just ordered your inventory from the supplier, and there's this thing called lead time. The supplier has lead time. So when you order the inventory, from when it gets to Amazon's warehouse is the supplier's lead time. Okay? So during that lead time, you are not just sitting around twiddling your thumbs doing nothing. No, you are prepping for the launch. You're going through and preparing yourself, preparing your listing and your product to be selling. How do you do that? Well, for one, there's this thing called keyword research, right? Which is SEO, search engine optimization, certain keywords that you want to add to your listing and so on to show up when people search it. Now, what we're doing here is Amazon SEO, specific for Amazon. And Helium 10 is going to be giving you these, keywords that are specific for Amazon because, like I said, Helium 10 is an Amazon data scraping tool. And there's a lot of different tools in Helium 10 and a lot of different methods of finding keywords. Right? So what is a keyword? We talked about it before already. If I was selling the cat water bowl, then the cat water bowl is my keyword phrase. And there's a lot of different keywords for that. Maybe there's water bowl for cats. That's a different keyword phrase. Now, when you're doing keyword research, your goal is to find all of the keywords for your product, all of them. Now, the way that you do this is with a strategy I call the MKL strategy. It stands for the Master Keyword List. What you're doing here is you're combining all of the different methods of searching and finding keywords, all of them, and you're combining all of the keywords from those results into one massive list of thousands and thousands of keywords. Then the next step here is to go through and rank each of those keywords by relevancy. How relevant are they to your product specifically? Give them a 1 if they're highly relevant, like that's your exact product. A 2 if they're semi-relevant, they're a little bit broad, it could mean some other things. And then a 3 if it's like overall broad, like kind of category broad. It's like it's kind of talking about just like the same idea of your product, but not necessarily specifically just your product. Now you ranked all of them one through 3, or maybe you gave them a 0 if they weren't relevant at all. And now you have a list of ranked keywords that you are going to be using in your description, in your ads, in your anywhere in your listing. Like this is going to be huge. You're going to be using this a ton. So just set this aside after you finish it, after you have all of those keywords ranked. The next section is creating your images and videos, okay? The higher quality, the better, obviously. However, the higher quality, higher budget most of the time. So if you want like a good, like low quality, but cheaper way of getting images, Fiverr and Upwork are really great freelancing websites for that. You can almost do anything on Fiverr, really. You can get anything done for you. Images are up there as well. Now, what I recommend is doing higher quality because this is going to help you with your conversions. And the way to do higher quality things is by using third-party companies. A good example is Level Up Listings. I'll link them down below. By the way, I'm not an affiliate, but Level Up Listings is Amazon specific, right? They create images for your Amazon listings. They do 3D rendering as well. Now, like I said, the higher quality, the better, but it requires a little bit more money. So if you don't have the budget for it, Fiverr or Upwork is perfectly fine and good enough. Now, some things you want to think about when you are creating your images and videos. You want to tell every single detail about your product in the images. If somebody goes and scrolls through your images, they should fully understand what your product is, what it does, what the features are, etc. Now, some ideas and some things you want to include besides just images describing the product and features and stuff, you also want to have these two things: comparison charts and lifestyle photos. A comparison chart is, I'll give you an example, is a listing where is an image where you have your product right here is your product right here, and you have like a chart for other brands. So this is you and this is others or other brands, other products. And you have all of these different items of, okay, my brand, check, does this, does this, does this, does this. Other brands, they don't do that. They don't do that. They don't do that. They don't do this. And the whole idea behind it is you are comparing yourself and showing how you're better and different than the competition or different than the other brands. This is a really big place for you to advertise your USP. A really big place. You want to advertise. For example, say your USP is that your product is waterproof and the other ones aren't. You would show that here. You have a comparison chart, your product, and then others, other brands. My product, waterproof. Other products, not waterproof, and so on. Obviously, you want to word it and design it better than that. But that's the idea: is to have comparison charts to show people why they need to buy yours, not anybody else's. Another really important different kinds of photos to add are lifestyle photos. People actually using your product, showing that it's actually applicable to your life. Okay, lifestyle photos are very, very important. Believe it or not, you can make all the difference in the world if you actually have models or even just like photoshopped, of people holding your product or using it. They're in the kitchen using your blender, for example. This is really important, guys, in the process of creating your images. Now, once you get that done, you need to optimize your title, bullet points, and description for your listing. How do you do that? Well, guess what? You already have the MKL strategy completed. You already have that whole list done. All you need to do is use the top keywords from your master keyword list and input them into your listing. Draft out your listing copy using those keywords. Helium 10 has a listing builder where you can add all your keywords and then build the listing and check the usage of those keywords. It's very useful, guys. You need to be fully optimizing your copy with keywords from the MKL. Now, you also want to use common competitor title phrases in your own title. And in the MKL strategy, if you're doing it right, then you're going to be also using the Frankenstein tool to grab the other competitors' titles and see the most commonly used phrases and most commonly used words to put in your own title. All right? This is going to help you rank next to them and rank with them. At the end of this section, guys, you're going to be creating your final listing. So at the end of prep, your listing is fully created and finalized and kind of listed on Amazon. Now the next section is to boost it, right? Your inventory is going to be arriving soon. Maybe your inspection results are done, the inventory is on the way. You should be inspecting, you should be analyzing the inspection results, making sure it passed, make sure you don't need to get refunded. If it passes, then you're going to be sending it to Amazon to start boosting it. Now there's this thing called the FNSKU label hack, which is optional, but it's extremely useful if you can do it. If you can do it, then there's no reason why you shouldn't. Now what this hack is you're pretty much going to be sending your first inventory purchase, only the first one, to yourself, and then labeling the FNSKU labels yourself on each product, and then shipping it yourself through UPS from UPS to the Amazon warehouse. Let me tell you why you want to do this, and it's only for the first order. The reason that you want to do this is that as soon as you generate the FNSKU labels on Amazon, your clock starts. Okay? Your clock starts. So say that, you just generated the labels over here and then your clock is starting now. And as that clock is going, you have to wait for the supplier to label the units, put it on a boat, and then ship it over to Amazon's warehouse. And then it arrives at Amazon warehouse, and then you can start making sales. Right? And your clock has been started that whole time of you not making any sales for those, 60 days or whatever, or 50 days. And that's going to hurt your ranking on Amazon. It's going to hurt your ranking. It's going to make it slower for you to rank because Amazon is going to look at you as like not as big or as professional of a company, right? Because you've had the labels generated for 60 days with no sales. Now the kind of the trick and hack to get around this is to only have your manufacturer label it with the UPC barcodes and then send it over to yourself, to your house or your garage or whatever. You generate the labels right now. You're in the US, for example. You generate the labels yourself and then put them on the products. And then you send it yourself over to Amazon's warehouse. So now your clock starts right here rather than right here. And the time, from your house to the Amazon warehouse is a lot less time than from the supplier to the Amazon warehouse. So this is just for the first order. This is going to help you rank a lot faster. It's a little bit of a hack. Like I said, it's optional, but it's very useful. So yeah, this is super important for ranking on Amazon. And it's just for the first order because after you already have inventory and you're making sales, then you can just send the FNSKU labels to the supplier for them to print on the boxes themselves. So it's just a little bit of a hack for you guys, a little bonus content. The next step, guys, is the friends and family giveaway system. So your inventory is in Amazon, you're making sales. Now what you need to do is start doing giveaways. Now you have to be very, very careful with this because this is actually against Amazon's policies. So do it at your own risk. But if you do it the right way, I mean, your friends and families are going to want your product and they're probably going to want to review it as well. But, it can be very finicky because if Amazon catches on to it, then you're in trouble. Your account could get deactivated, so it is very risky. However, if you do it right, and like I said, it's very technical, but if you do it right, where the friend or the family member is organically searching for your product with a specific keyword that you gave them from your MKL, and they search through all the listings, they go to the next page, the next page, the next page, and they find your listing organically, and then they buy it organically, and then they review it organically, and then you refund them on the back end. That is kind of the proper way of going about it. Like I said, it's very technical. They should be adding competitor products to their cart as well as your product. Let it sit there for a little bit and then delete the competitor products and then buy yours. It's very technical, like I said. But if you do it the right way, this can be very useful for one, getting reviews, two, ranking on keywords because you want them to be using specific keywords that you give them. And that's just going to help you rank a lot faster and get reviews a lot faster, help you compete faster in the long run. It's going to help boost you a lot. So this is a very important step that honestly I think it's mandatory, but if you don't want to do it, I understand because it does violate Amazon's policies. You have to be very careful with this. The next thing is PPC ad creation. Okay? This is a huge section. PPC ads are Amazon's pay-per-click advertisement platform. All right? And it's in the name, you pay per click. So you only pay Amazon for ads if a customer clicks on your advertisement, which means they're taken to your listing, and that's when you pay. So you're paying for people to get eyeballs on your listing and actually scroll through and see what you are selling. So at the point that they're on your listing, all that's left for you is to make sure that they're converted. So if you have an optimized listing with amazing, branded content, amazing images, a video, a nice title, and bullet points, there should be no reason, if that keyword is relevant, why somebody would click on your listing and not buy it. Okay, there should be no reason for that. If, like I said, if your listing is optimized properly. So this is a really good system because honestly, you're not really investing into ads. You're investing into a certain amount of ROAS, return on ad spend, because you're going to be getting sales from your clicks. Like I said, you only pay per click. So as long as your conversion rate is up and your listing is a good listing, you're going to be making money from your PPC ads. And it's just a matter of managing your PPC ads properly, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. I'm not going to go into depth on the different types of these, but I want you to understand that there are different types of campaigns when you are going to be launching your PPC ads. I also didn't hit on this either. It's really important, guys, that you understand why PPC is kind of mandatory. Is because when you are running PPC ads, you're getting not only brand presence because you're showing up all over the place, but you're also going to be increasing your organic rank because every time somebody buys from you from your advertisement, your organic rank is going up as well. So like your organic listing is going to be ranking and showing up higher on search results. You're going to be increasing your organic rank as well as your profit margin in the long run. So it's very important, guys. It's the way that you want to scale your business. It shows Amazon that you are selling well, which is going to, give you a better BSR, which in the long run, like I said, is going to increase your organic rank and increases brand presence. So these different methods here are the different types of campaigns you can run. And I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna go in depth on each one of them, what each of one of them are. They're different like targeting methods, but I want you to understand that if you go to like the ad campaign manager, you can read about what each one of these does, but you need to be running campaigns for each one of these. So if I had one keyword, cat water bowl, I should be running a campaign for cat water bowl phrase, cat water bowl exact, cat water bowl broad, and cat water bowl. I mean, it doesn't work like that, but you want to be running auto campaigns as well. Run all of them, okay? And then manage them individually. So that's going to go into keeping it organized and easy to manage, right? How do you do that? Well, you sort everything into portfolios. If you've ever been on the Ads Manager, if you're not here yet, that's fine. This is a very complex topic. I'm probably going to make a video on it all on its own. But what I want you guys to know just on a basis is to sort everything into portfolios based on the advertisement method, the product, the targeting method, all these different things. Just sort them off into portfolios and have different campaigns target different things. And don't stuff too many keywords into one campaign. You guys might not know what I'm talking about at the stage you're at right now, which is fine. But when you get here, come back to this video and just listen to what I'm saying. Do not stuff too many keywords in one campaign. The maximum you should have is like 10 keywords in one campaign. All right, and you're going to be using your MKL to build out your PPC ads as well. So if you have all the rank 1 keywords in your MKL, you're going to be making individual campaigns for each one of those keywords. All right, and like I said, divide and conquer. Don't stuff too many keywords into one campaign. And the last part of this is just like off Amazon advertising, guys. But this really depends on your product. It really does, on where you advertise it and how you advertise it. But one thing you need to know is that there are social media friendly products and then products that are not social media friendly. Some products, like, just you can tell by just looking at it and by like understanding the product, are just super social media friendly. Influencers are talking about them and using them, like the Stanley Cup, for example, is super social media friendly. Influencers can walk around with their cup and drink it while they're talking in their videos, and then they can talk about it real quick. It's very just friendly with social media, and people see it and they want to buy it because their favorite influencer on social media is using it. Now, if your product is social media friendly, then you definitely need to go ahead and start creating social media accounts for your product, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all these different things. And you want to be posting content like as much as possible. If you need to, hire a social media manager to do this for you if you hate social media. But you need this for your business, for your brand. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be ending up running ads on all these platforms, Instagram ads, Facebook ads, TikTok ads, YouTube ads, Google ads, all of these different things, running ads for your product, right? And another huge thing you can do is influencer marketing, all right? Hiring influencers with large followings to make ads for your product or just to talk about your product and have an affiliate link. Influencer marketing is a growing business on its own, guys. Influencer marketing is huge now, and if you're not taking advantage of this with your business, then you're doing it wrong. You are. So if you're at this stage, You need to be utilizing influencer marketing and just social media, like off Amazon marketing as well. And the way that you can kind of like see if a market or different products are using this is if you're doing your keyword research and you see that there's a lot of brand specific keywords. People are searching for example, Colgate toothpaste. They're searching for Colgate toothpaste. You know that there's going to be a lot of off Amazon advertisements. If all the only keywords for that niche is just toothpaste and paste for teeth or whatever, then you know that maybe there's not a lot of people in that market that are doing off Amazon advertisements, and you can kind of take over that. It's just something to think about. After that, guys, that's the product launch, and then at this point, it's just rinsing and repeating with new products and products in the same markets, in the same niches that you were in before, related products, building out that ecosystem of products, right? And what this is going to do for you, like we talked about before, is it's going to grow your customer base, your loyal customer base. It's going to build that brand loyalty. You're going to have word of mouth advertisements, and every single product that you launch will be cheaper. It's going to be more successful. It's going to be more profitable, and you're going to be growing and scaling your business because your customer base is growing and scaling, and you're utilizing the same customer base in each product launch. Does that make sense? I hope it does, guys. This is the niche ecosystem model. This is why it's so superior than any other method, especially any other method of private label. At this point, guys, it gets fun, right? Because you got to work on your inventory management. You got to work on all these, just managing your cash flow and stuff, and then systematizing your business with virtual assistants. Building out your automations and those tedious tasks like customer service, like fulfilling those funnels we built. All of these things can be handled by virtual assistants, and then it's your job at this point to work on the business, not in the business. And that's what I said. It gets fun at this point, right? And like I said before, just watch how each product you launch in your niche almost starts to sell without any ads or reviews because you have a loyal customer base. At this point, you are a name brand. Now, the very last thing I want to talk to you guys about is the importance of getting that mentor, getting that coach who can walk you through the whole process, right? If you do not have that coach and that mentor, then you are just kicking yourself in the butt. You're really hurting yourself in the long run because you're going to be messing things up. You're going to be missing certain things that you didn't even know about, right? I bet before you watch this video, you didn't know about half the things I went over in this video. And if you would have tried to start on your own, then you would have missed all of these things. And even with the knowledge I'm giving you in this video, I'm not there seeing how you're doing it, right? I'm not looking at the method you're using to find the sales volume. I'm not looking at the method you're using to check the profitability. I'm not looking at how you're developing your product. I'm not looking at how you built your funnel, right? There's a lot of in-depth things, and it's unique compared to what product you're going with. It's unique on your scenario. So I always recommend to everybody who's starting an FBA business or any business period is to get with a coach, get with a mentor who has done this before, right? And if that is something that you guys feel like you need, and I honestly believe it is something you need, feel free to schedule a call with me. I'm gonna put the link in the description of this video where I sit on a call with you, I break down where you're at, where you're trying to get to, and I see if I can help you in the process, right? There are some people that I cannot help. Whether they don't have the finances, whether they are closed-minded or just prideful people, there's some people I can't help. But, it's a free call, guys. If you want to jump on the call with me, I will sit down with you, talk about your scenario, talk about where you're at, and I'll tell you whether or not I can help you with my program or not. I have personally sold over $1.5 million on Amazon. I know what I'm talking about. I've done this before, and I'm currently full-time selling on Amazon today. And if you want to get to that stage in your business, then reach out to me. I'll sit down and talk with you, and we'll see what we can do to get you to that stage, get you to making $25,000 in profit a month or more. And the ultimate goal, guys, is to exit the business, and it just runs itself. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to lift a finger for the business to continue running. And that's what I'm going to help you guys get to. All of my training, all of my coaching is done one-on-one through Zoom calls where I sit down with you, I look at your unique scenario, and I give you personalized action steps to help you guys get to where you need to go, right? And I hold you accountable to them as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope that this video was super important for you. And if you haven't noticed, I'm a little bit sick, so please excuse my kind of nasally sound voice. But like I said, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.